All right, so everybody's been talking and asking about Cardano. There's a lot happening out there. Charles is making some moves. We'll try to break all that down for you today. My name is Paul Barrett. Welcome back into Tech Path. Make sure and stick around toward the end of the video. We will have some Cardano sentiment for you, and we'll take a look at a little bit of the trading trends on Cardano as well. So stick around for that. If you're new to our channel, maybe you're starting to dive into Solana, Cardano, some of the altcoins that are out there, maybe looking at a play for the next run, make sure and subscribe, because this is the first thing that will help you on your crypto journey, but more importantly, it'll help you get notifications and things like that when we do live streams and all that good stuff. I want to thank our sponsor today, and that is Ocean Crawler. Now, Ocean Crawler, if you guys don't know, I'm a big watch fiend, I should say. And Ocean Crawler came to us and said, hey, let's do a partnership. The reason I said yes to this one was because I like them. I actually have an Ocean Crawler. I'm a big dive watch fan. So if you guys are interested, we have a pretty good discount on this that we have available for our audience. You'll just use our code in the description below. But the one that I like is what I call the Bitcoin watch, which is the one right there on the top right, which is their Ocean Crawler Wavemaker V2 in the orange version. This one right now is pretty much sold out, so you got to get it on pre-order. But I would check it out. I don't know if you guys are into watches like me, but this one goes into a ton of cool features, including a helium release valve. If you guys are into watches, you want something that's got a sapphire crystal, you want something that's fully automatic, and you want something that is dive ready. Now, the big question on watches, this is fun because I love, I should do a watch channel. I love watches. Is don't get a case diameter that's too large. A lot of people will get those super huge Hublots or something like that. Don't do that. You want to get one that is in at 42 to 43 for a dive watch. And this one comes in at 43.2 millimeters. So you got a cool feature there. Goes down to 600 meters too. That's 2,000 feet. So if you're a diver, and even if you're not and you do desk diving, take a look, use our link below. All right, let's get into Cardano. And everybody's been asking about Cardano. Now, there's a lot of things happening around Cardano. I want to go back to a little bit of history. Some of the history that has been in Cardano is what to expect around the action in 2023. Now, there's a lot within the Cardano community that would say, hey, we think that 2023 is going to be one of the best opportunities for us. If you look at this story right here from AMB, Cardano's community, long-term investors, what they can expect in 2023. There's a few things that they kind of pointed in on. Let me kind of focus in on a couple of things. And you'll notice that Cardano's still trading at around 30 cents. So that's 90% off, I guess, of what it was at when it was up around $3. But it is now trading at around 10.7 billion in terms of its market cap. It may not remain down here, in this position. I think that the good thing is that there's enough interest in this from the community that we may see a little bit of price action. Now, granted, Cardano may have a little bit better movement than Solana in 2023, unless we see some sort of issue that starts to come out for Cardano itself. But this is why the community is optimistic. They think that basically there's an opportunity here around not only exposure but new partnerships. It's also going to enter its much anticipated fifth era next year, which is called Voltaire. This is going to provide some new final pieces required for the network to become self-sustaining system. Now, and let me go to this IOHK post because they talk about it. Chapter 5, Voltaire, self-sustainable governance, Cardano community with the ability to decide on the network development updates, technical improvements, and project funding included. All that available, and they think this is coming in next year. So that, I think, alone could give us a little bit of upside for Cardano in short periods of time. I think macro still is going to be the big factor here that's going to continue to push, Cardano and other altcoins down during the remainder of this bull run. There will be small little runs, and I'll show you an example of that when we go to the chart a little bit later. There's always going to be that, so don't completely get away from that. Now, one thing that Charles was asking, and we'll talk about this in a minute, was, hey, so he was basically soliciting and trying to coerce Solana developers and etc. to essentially jump to the chain, to Cardano as a side chain. Now, when you look at Solana and Cardano, they're built on two different programming languages. One is on Haskell, one's on Rust. I won't get into the details of it, and I don't want to bore you with that. But when you look at that, this was just a quick article on this. Can Haskell programming language outperform C? This is what Charles Hoskinson says. Now, if you know programming, and my background, computer science, C is pretty much the iconic programming language that runs most of Web 2. I mean, yes, we've got a lot of other aspects within Web 2 that have started to accelerate, all the way from Ruby on Rails to what we see in Python now. Don't want to get too geeky, but this is kind of where the framework of technology is today. C has been the core. His idea was that, and this is one of the reasons that Haskell was selected, but his idea was that Haskell could be the future of this. Now, the problem with Haskell is that you have comparisons between Haskell and Rust that don't necessarily align very well. Now, that means the Solana developers who develop on Rust, which is essentially about 10 times faster, all of this plays into how could you ever even expect Solana to potentially port over to a Cardano platform as a sidechain. So I think that in reality, again, gets back into the theater that is Charles Hoskinson. And I'm watching these founders right now very closely, because when times start getting a little odd, all you have to do is start to study the personalities of these people. And this is any good journalist, any good analyst is going to understand enough about this. And I've been presenting for 20 plus years at conferences and all that. I know how to read an audience. I know how to read people. And when you see more and more of this type of material that's coming out, I'll show you some of the tweets and some of the videos that Charles has been producing. It starts to make you wonder what and why is Cardano so thirsty for, whether it's partnerships or attention. I just don't understand it. Why not just put your head down and build on really high quality projects? That's really the question. So I thought, well, let's take a look at who the high quality projects are. So let's go over here to a tweet. This came in from IOHK. And I'm going to play this for you guys and let you listen in on some of the projects here. All right, so these are projects showcasing over at the Cardano event.
I'm Spock. I'm the community manager for MinSwap, currently the largest AMM DEX on Cardano. What we're trying to do is basically try to unlock liquidity for others to be able to participate in the DeFi ecosystem.
What we're bringing to the Cardano ecosystem is the very first stablecoin that I think the ecosystem will see. We're bootstrapped from the ground up, self-funded, and so we're bringing kind of this fair launch concept to the ecosystem. It's something that we really value.
If you don't know, ADAO is an open source community. We develop open source resources for Cardano. We host a few live dApps. So if you're a project, you need smart contracts, you need multi-sig wallets, really anything. ADAO can provide it.
All right, so I'm
building a decentralized.
I'm going to kick it there. Basically, the point I'm making is that most of these projects are, I've never heard of them. I mean, other than, when Cardano promotes them. And this is the scenario. First of all, I mean, these bootstrap, stable coins, I mean, this is not something that, yeah, sure, Circle bootstrapped, I guess, to a certain extent, but this is not necessarily, I think, future tech coming out. Most of these kinds of projects, I'm not going, hard on some of these projects. Maybe some of these make it through. The likelihood is many of these will die on the vine in the bear cycle, and that, in my opinion, is one of the biggest problems with Cardano, is that they haven't been able to penetrate some of the more interesting projects that have been able to go into metaverse, NFTs, gaming, all those kind of scenarios. But in addition, even some of the DeFi projects, to be able to really advance up some of the DeFi services and become a breakout project, dApps that really do interesting things. When we did a full rundown on Breakpoint, which was the Solana conference a few weeks back, prior to FTX, a few weeks back, I guess it was in October. My point on that was that Solana's technology and a lot of the partners that they were building on, these were innovative and very interesting projects that had real use case utility. and could be utilized almost immediately. That's kind of the difference between what I'm seeing coming out of Cardano. Now, with that, I would say, hey, they got a wine, out there. So now Cardano blockchain is working in the vineyard business. So interesting stuff. Though I'm not really a big fan of Georgian wines, which is where this particular vineyard is. Don't know Baya. Love to get them on the show just to wonder why they selected Cardano as their chain of sourcing and using it in that kind of application. I mean, this is another example of a very small micron use case that I think just is almost irrelevant in being able to kind of scale to the next level. Now, if this was, I don't know, one of the top 10 wine producers, a Rombauer Vineyards, a Hess, anybody that would really kind of advance this forward, now you get enough real use case in what could be a burgeoning wine or beverage industry. Sure, there's a lot of opportunity for blockchain, especially around the, just the sourcing aspect of it, because this is something we talked about with like Starbucks and the idea of sourcing the beans. There's some use case for all that. And I feel like some of these chains, maybe they don't understand the connectivity to business just yet because they've been so busy building and doing peer review that they forget that there has to be a use case that starts to roll out into the real market, whether it's Web 2 or Web 3. The other thing I wanted to showcase here was just a quick review of the Cardano Summit. So I'm going to pop this out for you, and I want you guys to see this. And one of the things that I noticed was that there wasn't a lot of people there. So now I don't know, this was in Switzerland, so maybe they didn't have a ton of access to audience, but this to me just feels like this, again, definitely not a break point. So not a Solana event. And granted, I'm not a big fan of Solana either, guys. I argue that the tokenomics don't work there. I argue that there's a lot of problems with how the infrastructure investment has been done with Solana. And now you have the added pain and pressure from FTX and their involvement with Solana that has caused a tremendous amount of impact. But what I can't argue on Solana is the innovation that has happened on Solana. I would say outside Polygon is probably the number 2 token out there. Here was just a quick review. Again, you can kind of see, I mean, this is not a full audience. This is Charles's keynote right there. So sun never sets on Cardano, never has, never will. The opposed, yeah. So not a ton of people there. I'm wondering if we're going to start seeing a lot of fall off here. This is the other aspect of it. I think when you look at, being able to roll out events, to me, this is your chance to, one, grab up new developers. It's your chance to break away from other chains and or other projects that maybe aren't doing events, that you get a chance to really showcase what you've done. And I think it's the chance to also develop your pipeline for partners. And again, whether you look at how Polygon has gone about this, I think the biz dev team for any of these blockchain events or blockchain projects out there have got to be able to ramp up biz dev to where they can get these Web 2 and Web 3 partnerships moving. And Polygon has been killing it. Solana has been killing it in terms of just the dApp integration. And I think that is another big advantage of it. Now, if you look also over at Cardano and their stablecoin, remember they reactivated now the testing of JED, which is the stablecoin for Cardano. There was a lot of reasons why it was pulled down, and there was a lot of reasons why it stalled. But the biggest reason, I think, is that I don't know that there's a use case for another stablecoin when you look at the current stablecoin platforms that are out there today, whether it's BUSD or Tether, CirclePax, etc. I just don't see the use case for it really being needed. So again, back to another project that really just doesn't need to be developed. Why aren't we developing projects that are innovative, that are solving use cases that are real world today, not these futuristic use cases that might happen in 10 years? I think there's things that can be integrated now. I know that Cardano will push back the community. I completely get it, guys. There's a lot of NFT traffic. You got all these things happening with this project or that project. But the reality is is that we haven't seen major breakthroughs on any major business brand. Give me a few. Just pop them in the comments below. Tell me what brands have integrated on Cardano's blockchain and have been able to solve a utility issue in a real-world Web 2 environment, or even in an upcoming Web 3 environment that is even just a small market that might grow in the future. The more you can give me there, the more I'll believe that Cardano can do something long-term. Other thing is that they've continued to add staking. So 20,000 new staking addresses on average monthly for over a year. How is this happening? This seems to me like it just is a situation where it's continuing to build on the Cardano community. And I don't necessarily like projects that get their community to just get deeper and deeper. Really what I think good projects do not continue to try to dive in and rebuild into that community over and over, but instead are expanding the community as a whole. How many new addresses have come into staking on Cardano over the last year, month to month? There's data out there. I'd love to see it. So here's the weekly development report. This is their December 9th update. So core tech improvements, progress made on dApp integrations with Lace, their Actus framework implemented in PureScript. I don't know which one that one is. First version of Mithril is one that has some potential. Cryptographic library published on Crates, but an unknown platform. Project Catalyst reflecting on 2022 and looking back into 2020, or looking in 2023. 108 projects. Give me one or two that are skyrockets. Just one or two that are skyrocket utilities out of those 108. 7.2 million in native tokens. Plutus scripts are out, which now there's 400 plus scripts out there. And then 1,150 projects building on Cardano. How many of these 1,151 projects are active today, and how many might be going to zero? Let's take a look. And then total number of transactions, good, kudos to them. That's a decent and a respectable number, when it comes to transactions. And that is a thing that does have to happen. Then you've got Cardano coming in here with Charles saying Ghost scripts right there. So just the amount of Cardano smart contracts deployed has increased 300% year to date. And this is a big question, as to where all of this is coming from. And this gets back to my point is I'm curious, tell me, educate me on how that is happening. I still hold an open invitation to Charles to come on our show. I would love to just get answers on some of these things in terms of validity. And I'm talking about all these different projects that are frivolous. They don't make any sense in the use case scenario. Some of them, might be doing something in, some other country that could be doing, but that many projects are already doing those kinds of things. So that to me is a scenario that really has to play out. Their MAV 24, and Ethereum has an MAV of 3. This shows that Cardano's networking layer is 8 times more decentralized than the networking layer of Ethereum. This is, again, getting into not necessarily full truth, on how this plays out. If you see the biggest staking group, obviously, with Cardano is single pool operators, and then Binance comes in at number 2. Lido coming in at number 1, obviously, there, and then Ethereum. Again, this just doesn't really play out in the sense of how this showcases where staking is occurring. These are 2 different projects. Even though I understand they compare similarly, these don't even compare in terms of scale, capability, utility, use case, and transactions in comparison. So it dwarfs into comparison what's happening on Ethereum. The other thing they hit on, this is also IOHK, Charles. At this point, not listing, this is where it gets a little bit too thirsty, in my opinion. Not listing ADA is pretty tightly correlated with bankruptcy and risky behavior, makes you think. And this is essentially talking about what's happening over on Gemini. So why? Why would you say these things? Why go out there and throw a project or an exchange under the bus like that when there's no indicator, that really kind of says that they're going to file bankruptcy just yet? Now, there could be problems in Gemini, absolutely, but this only, I think, adds to the problems of what Gemini is going to be facing. Then you get him coming in with this little tweet going right at Solana. I mean, I understand the fun and the, kind of the noir behind this. It just has kind of a dark sense, but, trying to bring Solana as a sidechain, that's just, I don't see that even being a possibility. Why would you put this out? This only continues to create that competition between and fuels the community hatred for other chains, which is one of the big things that does continue to be a problem. Now remember, I've bought and sold Cardano many times, but to me that is exactly what it is. It's a trading token where you're looking at chart analysis and potential fundamentals that could and might give you some opportunity to get some profits. And you could also lose very easily on Cardano as well. Many people I know bought at Cardano's high at $3. Well, that's worth 30 cents today. So it's a big difference. And then here you got, again, IOHK going back in. Now he's going at the NFT market. Sounds like some NFTs need to migrate to another platform. So this, of course, is talking about, the whole issue with FTX, hosted NFTs, all that kind of stuff. Not going to happen. Again, these are Ethereum based. These are normal scenarios that we're going to see the biggest NFT use cases around Ethereum, Polygon, and even Solana to that extent. So I know that there are NFTs on ADA. You don't have to tell me that. This was an interesting video. I won't play it, but it just was an interesting video to Elon. Right there. I'm going to zoom up on that. Video to Elon. How to build decentralized Twitter using Doge and Cardano for profit and pleasure. Again, not something that I think is going to take place. And it just feels like this is a very thirsty element of trying to do something, create attention, some sort of scenario that continues to feed the community is the only thing I can continue to see happening here with what Cardano is doing. His last statement right here is a piece. Let me play this one for you guys. Let's load this up for you.
This is the nature of new endeavors. Good ideas can be great ideas and still fail. Great technology can be great technology and still fail.
Now, I don't know. Is he talking about Cardano? I'm just kidding. Point is that he's making here is that Solana has dealt with a lot of, situations, somewhat, I think, not necessarily self-inflicted, though arguably that could be, construed to be the same as well. But good ideas will fail. And good ideas are going to be a problem in the future that don't get funded now. And that's probably the bigger problem right now in this particular bear market. Because I want you to think back for a second and look at 2017 and remember that we didn't see the number of project innovations that we saw in 2020 and 2021. That was when project innovation exploded in blockchain, crypto gaming, NFTs, etc. Because of that, it brought in some of the most devious VCs in the market that have figured out ways to essentially turn on a money printer and start to manipulate and also dump on unsuspecting investors. That's something that we may not necessarily see that cycle completely replicate. Hopefully, definitely not in that phase. We've cut out a lot of bad actors. I think that in comparison is like what's happened with Mt. Gox in previous cycles versus what we've seen with FTX, Voyager, Celsius, etc., Luna. You can go on down the litany. And the fact that we've got all these different projects that are now running out of runway. This, I think, is going to be a very, very difficult time for a lot of major projects and dApps coming onto the platform. Here's the ones that I think that win. And the ones that win are going to be the ones that have done something in Web 2.0, had the ability to leverage up Web 2.0 to move into Web 3, meaning businesses that are starting to use, and I hate to keep going back to Matic and just Ethereum in general, have all done these things. And to a certain point, Cosmos, and there's a handful of others that have made real strides into Web 2. That, I think, is going to be the trick because Web 2 is where the money is right now. That is funded fully. Web 3 is a little bit light on funding, coffers at this point of time. Sure, it will recover and we'll start to see some movement here. I just don't know that Cardano is going to be one of the ones that help us make it out there in the next layer. I want to jump to the Cardano chart. This is the last couple of months, guys, and I know you all have been looking at this and saying, well, wait a minute, 2 months ago, back in September, I would have bought this at around 50 cents, 51 cents. Now I'm setting at 31 cents. So again, my losses continue to compound, and I won't even go to the full annual chart, but you're looking at a 41% loss right there. How long will you stay in this token? How far can this token go down before you make the decision to pull the plug? That's my question. Look at their sentiment just in the past few weeks. Again, Cardano, here's top line. This is the overall market right here. Cardano, both top line sentiment and amplification sentiment are underperforming our general top line sentiment, which is all of crypto. And if your number, a top 10, top 20 tokens cannot crack over the current overall market sentiment, to me, that's one of the biggest signs of a problem that we have to look at, and we just have to face it. So those are the kind of things that I'm concerned with. But again, I am open to listening to real world achievements that are solving utility case scenarios that they're not these micro projects that can't get enough speed and ramp up to the next level. It has to be a project, because remember, guys, you have to do a deal with the devil to be able, Web 2 and integration into early stage Web 3 that are primary. You have to do those deals to be able to accelerate so you can do good over here in these smaller infant things that are going to take decades to build. And that is the thing that concerns me about Cardano. It's going to take decades to get this really built out in any style or any format. So good and bad, I guess, for, if you're an ADA investor. I think if you are, right now paying for everybody. If you're a Solana investor, you're in the same boat. I mean, Solana has equally just tanked over the last couple of months. We'll just take a look right there. That's the FTX number. Boom. There's Solana. But since then, it's somewhat held steady versus when you look at ADA. One of the scenarios that they continue to have as a problem is it's just been a continuous downtrend on the market. They did overperform just a little bit right here in that period between late October and early November, a little bit over the trend line, and then right back under and down it went. So anyway, if you guys want to catch more of our sentiment data, make sure and check out the Crypto Power Index. We'll leave links down below. You can always sign up. And it's very easy. Just go to Paul Barron Network. You can become a member. You can get access to these types of tool sets in terms of sentiment in general. If you're not in the Diamond Circle, you should be. Just use the link below. Get in. It's a free service, and it's a couple of emails a week. Gives you information on not only our content, but also some additional member benefits. So check that out. You guys want to catch me? It's out there on Twitter, @Paul Barron. We'll catch you next time right here on TechPath.